Oh, I've got squeegee hair today. Squeegee hair. Oh, hello. I was on a bit faster than I was expecting. Hello, hello. Good evening. Happy Saturday, everyone. How are you doing? Hi. Haven't been on. Where's my drink? I haven't been on in a while. Ugh. So I thought I'd jump on. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much. Thank you, thank you. How's your day been? How's your bank holiday weekend going? Oh, I do look a bit dressed. I look like I'm going out partying on a Saturday night. When in fact I'm not. I've been TikToking. I'm gonna be probably watching a film with my husband. Am I on two? No. So hello, I'm Anna. I'm Property Empress. And I do honestly do these lives. I haven't been on in a while. Got a lot of stuff going on, but I really want to come on tonight. But I do these property Q&As where basically you can ask me anything property related. I'm a property investor, have been for 12 years. I teach property as well. Got a buy-to-let course coming up in June, so you can go to the link in my bio to check it out. But basically, you can be saying if you're interested in building your own portfolio, or you have any questions about that, or you have any questions for me as a property investor. We have buy-to-lets and Airbnbs. Otherwise, it can just be general, whether you're a landlord, whether you're a tenant, whether you're interested in the market. You can ask me stuff like that, mortgages and things like that. Finance, I'm not a qualified advisor. I can't give legal, financial, tax or mortgage advice. I can talk generally about it. But if you ask me something that you really need to speak to an accountant, for example, I will kind of say, go and talk to an accountant. But like I said, I can talk generally about it. But sometimes you just need to, speak to an expert in that field, particularly tax. Like, oh my God, property tax. So just pop your comments. Oh, it's a bit shaky today. Sorry, I'm on the sofa. But if you pop your questions in the comments and I'll answer all the questions. Hi, my house is valued at 600k and got mortgage 90 left. Should I remortgage for another property? That's so funny. I literally in fact, I haven't posted. I've done a video on exactly that question. But yeah, basically, so if you've got a property and you've got a lot of equity, so if you've got a good 500 grand, yes, if you want to invest in property, then you can, assuming that you pass the thank you for the hearts, by the way, assuming that you pass the affordability, so again, talk to mortgage broker, then you can potentially pull out some equity to buy another property. The benefit of using equity is that although interest rates are on the increase, it's still really cheap. So it's different if it's your own home, but certainly I was doing again, recording some TikToks about the mortgage rates at the moment. But it's like 3% to borrow. So it's the 3%. Oh, thank you so much for the roses. It's the 3% interest if you were to take out some money from your mortgage, from your equity. And then you could invest in property. Property over the long run, on average in the UK, goes doubles in value every 7 to 10 years. So you could potentially, even if you have to pull out, I don't know, 50 grand, buy a 200 grand property that gives you a nice, probably £300 or £400 net passive income a month, then that would potentially pay for probably both the mortgages. And then you've got this asset that's going up in value as passive income. There's a lot of reasons to do it. If you're new to property, make sure you do lots of due diligence. There is a lot to it, but it's not rocket science. It is a relatively straightforward process. There's just a lot to learn. I also do the Property Empress podcast. There's we do some stuff around exactly that. I'm sure we have an episode on whether you should use your equity to invest in property, but certainly there's steps to get started. But yeah, it's a great question. Thank you. If it's a bit I'm a bit wobbly today, if it's a bit weird, let me know and I'll try and I'll put the camera on a table. Thank you, Milo, for the rose. Hi, if you haven't already, could you speak about angel investors, what they are and how they get paid? It's such a great question. I get asked about this a lot. And I think I talk about it a lot because when we started our portfolio, we had no money. Thank you so much for the likes, by the way. Whoever's sending all those hearts, that's very kind. Thank you, because it helps me in my life to be seen by other people. Yeah, so I started my portfolio 12 years ago. We had some debt, we had no money, and I was like, how do you invest in property if you've got no money? And as it turns out, you can use what's called angel investors. So angel investors are typically people who have money in the bank who are interested in property, either don't want to do it themselves or don't have time to do it themselves, or they've maybe done it themselves and haven't really got on, like, dealing with tenants seems to put a lot of people off, mainly. Anyway, that's a whole different question. We find our own tenants, and I think actually using letting agents can often put a lot of people off, and they think it's the tenants, and actually it's just the industry in general. But anyway, so an angel is basically someone who has money in the bank and wants to get a better rate of return. Interest rates are still really low, so they might be getting 1%, and with inflation being what it is, it's basically going down in value. So they would potentially invest in someone like us. So it's like having an investor for your business. We do all the hard work, we take all the risk, and we basically have a loan from an angel investor. We pay them a fixed rate of return. So typically we pay, at the moment we pay about 6 to 8% to an angel investor for anything between 1 and 3 years. It's a secured investment as well. So you'd be buying, usually, well, there's two ways you can do it, but usually you'd be buying 100%. So if you're buying 100 grand property, you'd borrow 100 grand from an angel, buy that property, and then after, for example, a year, you'd pay them back like 107 grand, for example. And basically you can use the cash flow to fund the interest repayments. Or if the property is going up in value enough, and certainly more than, the 7% or what have you, then you can refinance and use the equity. But the thing with using angel investors, and I always say this, like, I like using angels. There's so many people who want to get a better rate of return and want to invest in, like people like myself. Oh, I love it. Just saw the next question. But you make sure you have lots, two things. One, the money comes last. If you start talking to an angel now before you've looked at property or anything like that, there's this like, and I get it, it makes perfect sense, but it actually doesn't necessarily work in finance. But this idea that you have to have the money before you go buying property, actually the opposite is true, because you need to have at least an idea of how much you're going to need, how much you're going to be able to pay in terms of the interest rate, how long you can do the term. So really get pretty at least close to getting a deal, an offer accepted, and then you can go back and talk to them about it. Otherwise, it's like going to the bank and saying, I've got a business idea, can you lend me some money? Like, they're going to need some tangibles. And the other thing is, what was the other thing was, make sure you've got lots and lots of backup plans. I need to do a bit more around that, because I always talk about it, but I'll share a little bit more. So I've got loads of questions coming in. Thank you so much. So, did that answer your question? So what are they? How do they get paid? Yeah, so we pay, it's a fixed interest. They get a charge against the property. So from their point of view, it's a secured investment. They're kind of enjoying the returns of property without having to do it themselves. So it works really well for them, works really well for us. There's far more angels than there are people who know how to do this. So actually there's quite a lot of opportunity there. And the next question, thank you, it's a really good question. Next question, how do you find angels? And again, it like such a beautiful complimentary question. Share and shine. I talk about what I'm doing with as many different people as possible. I'm one of these annoying people. I probably subconsciously steer it to property. So I always end up talking about it, and you will find people naturally gravitate towards you. Remember, an angel is someone who's interested, wants to do property, doesn't want to do it themselves. So if they meet someone that's doing property, works with angels, then they're normally, almost always, I'm trying to think of this as, bar when I first started and I was taught to go finding angels, always I have angels say to me, like, can I be your angel? Like, they ask to be my angel. I don't have to even ask them. So share and shine, talk about what you're doing. There are some tangibles you can do. There's like Facebook groups you can post your deals on. There's websites. I haven't used them myself. I don't know how effective they are, but there are angel investor websites. Thanks for the likes, by the way. Where you can like basically again post your deal, and it's like a matchmaking thing for angel investors and property investors. You can also work with I don't know what they're called, but they're a little bit like a mortgage broker, but for angel investors. There's a guy that I've met that I've spoken to a few times. He seems pretty good. But otherwise, you can talk to people that you think might be interested. Remember who an angel is. So it's someone with an investor mindset. And you wouldn't necessarily know what an angel looks like. People think an angel looks like someone who lives in a mansion, drives a fast car. It's not. It's actually people who live in a very modest house, drive a modest car, but they've got a good mindset when it comes to investing. So if you know someone that you think might be interested, have a chat with them and see. Networking groups, business networking groups, I find is such a great way to find angels. And yeah, social media as well. You can post on your Facebook page that you're, investing in property and you're looking to work with angel investors. I know that can be quite effective as well. So there's loads of different ways you can do it. Thoughts on getting a residential mortgage and then posting the property on Airbnb. So you have residential commercial mortgages. So residential is a mortgage on a property that is going to be someone's home rather than like an office, for example. But you have it for your own home, residential for your principal primary residence, or you have it as like a buy-set. But you would need to, if you're going to be putting the property on Airbnb, when you speak to a mortgage broker, tell them what you're planning on doing, because you need a special mortgage and like an Airbnb, it's not Airbnb, but a special mortgage that caters to Airbnb. But if you have a buy-to-let mortgage, you can ask for permission to Airbnb. Sometimes they say yes as well. And same thing if it's your own home as well, you can do the same thing. My thoughts on it? I don't really have many thoughts. I with anything that we do, if we're buying a property, we always tell our mortgage broker what our plans are and get the right mortgage for it. One thing I would say that not many people know about is like people are very aware that, if you want to use mortgages, you have to have a fairly good credit file. And there's lots I could talk on that. But what people don't realise is there's this blacklist. I can't remember the name of it, but there's a blacklist. If you are caught committing mortgage fraud, for example, getting a principal primary residence, mortgage for your property, and then Airbnb-ing it, so breaking the mortgage rules, basically, you can get blacklisted, put on this like list, and basically it's almost impossible to get back off it. And it just means mortgage lenders won't ever lend to you. So it's in my opinion, it's a massive no-no. Don't even skirt close to, and I know you weren't suggesting this anyway, don't even skirt close to breaking the mortgage rules, because it's just not worth it, in my opinion. But what are your thoughts on it? Was there something in particular that you were curious about? I feel like you get nothing per month in profit for buy-to-let if you have I think there's one property. It's interesting because I talked about this. I did a TikTok on this not so long ago, because I was the same when I first heard about this, because sometimes it's this idea of you buy like £100,000 property, you work with an angel, borrow all this money, you have to go through the mortgage paperwork, crikey. And you go through the mortgage paperwork, get it up and running, you find the tenants, and there's so many things that can go wrong. Like, done in the right way, it's pretty hands off and it's a good investment, but there's a lot of risk. And you get like £250 a month. It doesn't feel like a lot given the effort, but what I would say is that's £250 a month every month. It's passive income, so it's not linked to your time. So if you are an employee, or if you're self-employed, where if you're not working, you're not earning, if something happens and you can't work, I was really poor. I got really poorly with COVID in November, ended up in hospital with a pulmonary embolism, couldn't work for 3 months. It was the buy-to-let portfolio that kept us going, because it's a passive income, it's not linked to our time. But also the thing with it being passive is you can in theory just keep buying houses until you get enough income that it feels like it's kind of worth your while. But also you have the income obviously each month, you also have the uplift. So you're owning an asset that doubles in value over the long run, every 7 to 10 years on average. So again, if you buy that 100 grand, it was a long time ago. We worked out we're making about £8,000 a month in equity. And then we had I can't remember when it was, like 2 or 3 grand in passive income. So you don't really need, actually, there's a couple of things. You don't need a massive we don't have a massive portfolio. We have like a fair sized portfolio that supports our lifestyle. But you can, if you don't want to do the buy-sets, you can do like multi-let properties. Maybe Airbnbs. It depends if you want to be more buy-sets are very hands-off. HMOs can be quite hands-off as well. So maybe just mix with other properties. But I do hear you. I do, and I agree. But then my husband was like, he said something. He was like, £250 a month, like that's how did he say it? He said that was it. He said, go to the bank and give me £250. And the idea is you kind of go, well, no, like, would you feel if you just had to give £250 a month to someone, would you feel it? And I was like, yeah, I would feel it if I just had to consistently give £250 a month to someone. And he was like, it is bigger than you think. Anyway, sorry, that's a bit of a bit of a rant off topic. But thank you. Hello. I'm really bad at, I always want to read people's usernames because I feel like it's more like friendly, I guess, but I'm so bad at reading them and I'm always worried I'm going to mispronounce them. But hello. I have 5 properties. Could I set up a company to own them and save tax? Well, talk to an accountant. I can't give you any accountancy advice, but I can talk generally. Usually, if you're a higher rate taxpayer, then buying in a limited company name is better for tax. But if you're a basic rate taxpayer, then usually in your own name is better for tax. So it depends what your plans are for the future and what your situation is now. There are loads of other factors to go with it, but broadly speaking, that's the case. So if you're a high rate taxpayer, it probably is worth doing. You can't, however, if they're owned in your own name and then you set up a limited company, if you transfer them across, it's a sale from you to your company. So it would trigger capital gains tax, stamp duty, things like that. So it might be worth going forward buying in a limited company if you're a high rate taxpayer or you think it's going to tip you into high rate taxpayer. But if you're not sure, I mean, talk to an accountant. Like I said, talk to an accountant because they can give you specific advice. There is more to it, but that's a very general feel. But it's a really good question. Thank you. How do you need to be to get a mortgage? I think it's 21. I think the mortgage, I looked this up a little while ago. I'm sure you'd be able to get one at 18, but I know the mortgage works is 21, I think, possibly 23. I feel like I should have a better answer. I think it's 21. For a buy-to-let mortgage, I've just realised. But if it's for your own name, it's probably 18. But even if you are younger, if you're like 17, because I've worked with a lot of teenagers. I used to do a teenager course where I taught about creating income streams. And even if you're under 18, you can do stuff like you can set up businesses, buy properties, but it's put in like your like either ideally parent or guardian in like a, I don't know exactly the terminology, again, talk to an accountant, but it's put in like a trust and then it comes to you when you're like 18. So even if you're under the age of what you need to be, you can still potentially do it. It's a great question though, thank you. Is property good investment or should I keep my 25k in the bank? That is a really good question. For me, I mean, talk to a financial advisor because I'm sure they'd give you some great advice as well. But for me, the difference between the bank versus property, the bank is like safe and secure. Like you're, as I say, it's unlikely the banks are going to go under, but obviously it wasn't that long ago we had the credit crunch. Broadly speaking, you're unlikely to lose your money if it's in the bank. You can even put it with the government, like as a bond to keep it like, again, extra secure. But because there's very little risk, there's very little return. So particularly in this day and age, oh my God, I'm really behind on my comments. Sorry, I'll try and catch up. But the idea is most banks, you're going to be getting like 1-2%, maybe. I don't even think that. I think it's like 1.5% return on your money. But inflation is so much higher. I don't even know what inflation is at the moment, but it's so high at the moment that it means that 25 grand is going down in value. Whereas if you put it into a rental property, for example, well, your 25 grand, you're going to be a little bit, I don't know whereabouts in the country are, you're going to be a little bit stretched because you need to pay stamp duty and purchase costs and whatnot. So normally your 25 grand would buy you maybe 100 grand property, but when you take account of all the other kind of costs, maybe your 25 grand might buy you like an 80 grand property, which is still possible, like Liverpool, Cumbria, South Wales. There's areas you can still buy one rental property. Ideally, you'd want to have 2 or 3 really just to spread the risk. But you could basically get that into property and it's going to give you like, I mean, usually like 7% return compared to like 1% in a bank, but also it's going up in value over the long run. So you're getting a nice income and over the long run, it's going up in value. But again, it's a higher risk. So just make sure you do loads of research. Like the Property Empress podcast is a really good place to start. I've got podcasts on getting started, talking about like the risk of like the biggest risks of property investing, things like that. But again, I would also talk to a financial advisor. If it's just in the bank earning 1%, it's going down in value. So it's probably worth at least looking at different things. Also, I don't know if you're a girl or boy, but if you're a girl, check out the Financial Feminist podcast. It's a really good podcast as well. But yeah, good luck because she talks about high interest savings and she also talks about investing your money and stuff. She's really good. As less risk. Yeah, exactly. That's it. Thank you for the follows, everyone. Know what to do with property inventory. Know what to do with property inventories. Knew what he was doing with the landlords. Okay, I'm not sure I know what that means. Airbnb should be completely illegal. It just makes it harder for working people to own their own home. I think you mean home. It's really interesting. Like, it's a really interesting, like, Airbnb seems to really upset a lot of people. And I get it. Like, some Airbnbs cause such a problem for the neighbours especially. And you're absolutely right. Like, potentially if because there's loads more Airbnbs now. So potentially it's taking homes and, that could be homes and turning them into Airbnb. The perspective, I hear you and I understand where you come from. The perspective I have is that most of the people that stay in our Airbnbs are people who are like working in the area, who are, coming for training, like we've got one of our regulars is a lady who comes and stays. She's got family, she lives abroad and she comes to visit family. So it's a service. It's like a hotel. So I hear what you're saying, but for me, I think there's a misunderstanding or misconception about Airbnb. It's a service. It's like a hotel, and people prefer. Well, the people who stay in Airbnbs, particularly if they're staying longer term, if they're staying like 6 weeks because they're doing training in the area, they want to be able to cook and have their own space and stuff. So I know what you mean. I don't think I would agree that it should be completely illegal, but I think they're going to be. I imagine they're probably going to be doing what they did with HMOs, because we've gone down a kind of similar route here with Airbnbs, where it's kind of got quite big. So what they did with HMOs, they put in certain areas, they put restrictions, so you have to have planning permission. So there's not too many Airbnbs in the area. So I think we'll go down that route. So it'll probably just, what's the word I'm looking for? It just kind of restricts the number of houses being converted into Airbnbs. Yeah, I felt like I would not get caught instead of, yeah. Oh, what was that in reference to? Yeah, I felt like I would not get caught instead of putting 25 down. Oh, I see. Yes, this was using like buying a property and then, sorry, I'm so behind on my comments, so I do apologize. Yeah, no, I wouldn't personally. It's up to you, but I wouldn't. Passive income is a working class person, active income. Well, passive income is thrift. I'm not sure. Is this the right space for you? Passive income is a working class person, active income. I mean, read books like Rich Dad Poor Dad, I don't know, probably the Rich Dad Poor Dad. When you look at what passive income is, like, and bear in mind, like when we started, we didn't have any money. We had a load of debt and stuff. So I wasn't like, I mean, I don't really know the class. I wasn't working class when I started, I'm assuming. But, we weren't in a good financial position. Like anyone can do it. Passive income is, and it doesn't even have to be property. Property is just one of them. There's loads of different passive incomes. But it's a mindset. It's not really about like rich and poor in classes. I know they talk about rich dad, poor dad, but it's very much a mindset. And the idea is to free it. And also, the reason I do passive income is it frees up my time to do other things. So we flexi school the kids. Our kids are quite little still, so we want to spend time with the family. So we started without any money to get us started, and it's all about being family focused. It's not about being rich. Anyway, have you ever thought about Airbnb for a retail store? An Airbnb? I've thought about Airbnb for a retail store. How would that work? I don't know how that would work. How would that work? Oh, all right. Oh, Dan, I just don't think this is the right place for you, my lovely. Is all passive income is theft. How does anyway, passive, okay. Anyway, the ruling class buying up all the property is what makes life hard for the working class. Again, that's a bet. I'm gonna just move on. Like a pop-up store, type thing would be a nightmare for rates, but interesting idea, yeah. How many years do you recommend taking an interest-only mortgage over? Oh, so an interest-only, yeah. So, again, I can't recommend. Talk to a good mortgage broker. But for me, when we're buying a property, we invest, like we use angel investors. So we use some borrowed money to invest in the property. We will renovate the property. We'll buy it cheap, renovate the property to add some value, leave it for a couple of years to let the market uplift. Then we'll refinance to pull that investor's money back out again, pay them back with interest. And then we'll let it kind of just run out. So for us, when we buy properties, we'll only do 2 years, because that's like, you can, at the moment, it's normally like 2, 5, 10 years maybe. So we'll do 2 years to begin with, and then probably a 5-year, because that's what works for our strategy. But it depends what you're doing. If you're wanting, I mean, with interest rates kind of on the move, there's not a massive difference between 2 and 5 years. So it depends what your plan is. If your plan is to keep this as a long-term passive income strategy, then yeah, maybe think about something like 5 years. But if you want a little bit of flexibility, if you're not sure if you want it to be long-term, then maybe 2 years. But talk to a good mortgage broker. It's a good question. Thank you. Yes. Thank you. Yeah. Yeah, my hair is darker. It does. This is more my natural hair color. My sister-in-law, bless her, so my sister-in-law's a hairdresser, and I feel very blessed because she is incredible, and it has saved me a freaking fortune over the years. But I've hidden my greys. I have so many grey hair, and I've got quite dark hair. But we've had to move the appointment like 3 times for various reasons. So yes, it's much darker because it desperately needs color. But it should be. It's not as. She tells me off for saying orange, copper. It's not as copper because the color has faded. But yeah, it does change color. You're absolutely right. Can you do a TikTok on Leicester properties? Yes, I've just posted buy-to-let numbers for Redhill. So if you pop Leicester on there, then I will try and do you a Leicester one. It's a good one. Thank you. I'm 19 and want to buy-to-let in my name. Would this be possible? I think so. Talk to a mortgage broker. Even if it's not possible, it's still possible. So talk to a mortgage broker. Actually, the other thing I would ask is, do you have your own money to get started? Oh, thank you for the rose. If you've got money to get started, then yeah, talk to a mortgage broker, and there might be there might be lenders, who will lend from age 19. If not, you can talk about, I think, like I said before, you can look at potentially like a parent or guardian buying it in their name, and it goes like in a trust, comes to you when you hit the age that you need to be to get mortgages. If you aren't using your own money and you're then either using angel investors, you won't be using mortgages anyway, so it doesn't matter. Like, you would either be using bridging, or you'd be using the whole purchasing the property entirely using angel funds. I want to go into it more, but I'm conscious a bit behind on my comments. But let me know if you've got any questions. The other thing you can do, if you don't have the money to get started and you're don't want to or not interested in using angel investors, you can use strategies that don't require so much capital outlay. So things like rent to rent and lease options. So yeah, if you don't, and again, I did a TikTok on this I've recorded one today. If you don't have money to get started, either use strategies that don't need much capital outlay, or use angel investors, or I'm not telling you what to do, look into those 2 things. Thank you. Would be tricky with business rates and property use, not sure enough demand to risk. Yeah, that was the shop, wasn't it? Airbnb. What people are good to talk to? Accountant, mortgage broker, what else? Oh yeah, cool. That's it, really. That's it. It's because I say it so often. Yeah, accountant, mortgage broker. I mean, the people I talk to most are, accountant, mortgage broker. It's not so they're the 2 main ones to talk to at the beginning. There's also, I talk to my surveyor a lot. I also talk to, because we're buying in Liverpool this year, so I talk to my damp. I've got a friend who has a damp company, so I talk to him. He's a damp person. But accountants, and again, if you're, in fact, inheritance tax planning as well, particularly if you're a high rate taxpayer. And if you're thinking about doing commercial property, look at what's the name? I've got a concept that's really good. The net is gone. There's a certain tax if it's commercial. Oh, it's gone. If it comes back, I'll tell you. But yeah, but to be honest, accountant, mortgage broker, the main ones when you get started. Also, it's not a person, but go use Check My File. Check your credit file when you're getting started, especially. I'm not affiliated with Check My File. I just like them. There's 4 credit files in the UK, so don't just go to Experian, because then you're just checking one. And then when you get a mortgage, if they go to one of the other ones, you're not going to know what's in the file. But Check My File are really good because you do the first month free. And they're really good for support if there's something in the credit file that's not very good, or if there's an issue with it, they can give you really good support. And it's like £15 a month or something. It's not very much. But it's certainly, accountant, mortgage broker, credit file, the main things. And also read some really good books. Read Rich Dad, Poor Dad, The Millionaire Next Door, Think and Grow Rich, those kind of books as well. It's a good question. Thank you. Do you know anything about setting up a private, REIT? What's an REIT? God. And if it's even possible for smaller companies, I'm probably not qualified to answer. I can't remember what it is. I don't know. I'm so sorry. I don't think that's what's an REIT, and I'll let you know. But I don't think that's for me. And even if I don't know, I can find out for you. So you're welcome to drop me a little message. Don't keep money in the bank. Invest. Yeah. Could I use a 100k property with 20 grand all in? Oh, could I buy? Sorry, can't read tonight. Could I buy 100 grand property, 20 grand all in? Would this include all the fees, etc.? Typically, if you're buying 100 grand I mean, you can actually technically, you could buy a 100 grand property and only need a 15% mortgage, say 15 grand. And then the stamp duty would be 3%. The purchase cost would be like 1%. The legal fees would be like 1 grand cost. So you'd be looking at about 4 grand plus the mortgage fees, which you could choose certain products where there's not much upfront cost. So you could do it. The thing with using like an 85% loan to value is the rates aren't so good. The interest rates aren't very good. So ideally go for like 80%. I mean, 75% tends to be the best. But you could do 85%. Talk to a good mortgage broker, see what you can get. It is possible, but you're just not going to have such good cash flow. But if I was you, what I would be doing is potentially, buying one property, going probably for 85% if possible, and just like sucking it up for a couple of years. And as the price goes up in value, the house goes up in value, then you can refinance onto an 80 or 75% loan to value, and then you get a better cash flow. So basically enjoy the uplift for a couple of years and then get onto better rates and enjoy some passive income as well. That's probably what I do. Or actually, no, that's what I do. Yeah. It's a good question. Thank you. Has so motivated trying to get into property, can never seem to get started. Yeah, I hear that so much. I really do. I hear it a lot. I mean, they talk about staying close to the fire. So watching stuff like this, check out the Property Empress podcast. That's very good as well. I get a lot of people that say that they struggle to get started. They listen to Property Empress podcast. And then they get going. You can also I'm also doing my buy-to-let course in June. So that's a lot of support in the run up, during and after. So you could like do something like that and be in a group of people all investing. There's like, I know some of my friends like set up like an accountability group when they not to start, they'd already started, but you could find other people, have an accountability partner and accountability group. That's a really good question. I'm trying to think how I would do, because we were matched up with a buddy when we did our property training. When we started, we had buddies, but my buddy quit like 2 weeks after. I was like, what was the thing I said? So I was on my own. But my husband had his, and in fact, we met on monthly and played the Rich Cashflow 101, the Robert Kiyosaki game. So yeah, I would probably join some property groups online, in person, do some training, listen to podcasts. And hang out in spaces like this. Yeah, it's a really good question. Thank you. What was the property parcels you said is good for girls? Oh, the Financial Feminist. It's this American lady. I can't remember her name, but she did a series of podcasts and they're so good. I don't listen to, I do a podcast. I don't tend to listen to them. But I listened to hers and I thought it was brilliant. I thought it was really, really good. I didn't like the first one, but I got through it and I liked all the other ones. I think she's doing a second series as well, but it's Financial Feminist. Nice to meet you too. Could have dyed your grey hair before coming on here. Can you see my grey hair there? I did try and hide it. I did make some effort to hide it and not to offend people. God, if you could actually see how bad my hair was. This is like the better version. I did try, but unfortunately my sister-in-law cancelled the appointment. So I couldn't. I'm terribly sorry. She said, yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you for, I need to be better at reading people's username, but thank you so much. Hi, JB. How you doing? I got 100k. I'm looking to buy a second home, buy to let. How value home would be ideal for me. I'm not sure I follow, but yes, I think you've got 100 grand. You're looking to buy a second home for buy to let. Yeah, it's not, because the thing is, again, it's a multiple income stream. It's having different incomes as to, and just so you know, like I don't just have property income. I have we have as many different income streams and try and vary them as much as possible. And it's all part of reducing the risk. Like as a business owner, you have to be very, and particularly an investor, you have to be very risk conscious. So even if you have a salary, and then I always think 3 is the magic number with buy to lets, because then they support one another. But certainly at least one buy to let would be great. It's like an alternate income stream. So I think it's great, but only if some people don't want it, and that's cool. But I think it's good. Have you listened to Property Empress podcast? It goes over all these sort of things. It's really good. Yeah, that's mine. That's my Property Empress podcast. Me and my podcast buddy Richards record it. So yeah, that's my podcast. um, oh, I just got a little notification. Jamie Florence just became a top one viewer. That's very cool. Oh, thank you for the rose. What do you think about the hands-off buy-to-let investments? Limited involvement, but invests. Yeah. Is there more to that? I don't like them. Am I allowed to say that? I feel like I should be more politically correct. They have benefits, but I don't like them. So no, I don't like them. I don't like them because I think that all the ones I've seen, like the sourcing, where people sourcing properties for other people, where it's a hands-off buy-to-let investments, I just don't think they're very good deals. And I feel like they sell to people who don't realise that they're not good deals. I don't like them. I do understand that if you want to invest in property and you really just want to be hands off, you know, I understand why people do. I understand why people would be interested. And I'm sure, and the thing with property is it's kind of a no-brainer. Like they go up in value over the long run. You've got lovely passive income. You know, if you have enough as well, even if you have like an awful letting agency, you're still going to make money. Like that's kind of thing of, you know, you're kind of pretty much guaranteed to succeed if you do it for long enough and have enough properties. So yeah, but I don't like them. I don't know why. I just don't like them. I think I've just seen too many that just don't seem to be great. But I do understand the need for them. Maybe I should do one. Maybe I should do like a proper, I don't know. But and I think I've spoken to quite a few people as well who have had their fingers burnt, because there tends to be a lot of buying blocks of flats as well. It's like getting involved in blocks of flats or buying a flat. And I wouldn't do flats, you know, for so many different reasons. New build flats seem to be the thing that people sell, and they're just the worst kind of property to buy, generally speaking, if you're looking for an investment property. Airbnb is great, but not for like buy-to-lets. But anyway, yeah, it's a good question. Is it something you've been interested in or you've looked into? How do you find angel investors? So for anyone who doesn't know, an angel investor is someone like, so we work with angel investors. So they're like having an investor for your business. So we basically go and find a property that we want to buy, normally getting a cheap property that needs some work, and we'll borrow money from an angel investor. We'll renovate the property, leave it in the market for a couple of years so it goes up in value. Then we'll refinance to pay the angel back with interest. And it works really well for us because we never had any money when we started. So we've always used angels. It works really well for the angel because they're people who have money in the bank, want to get better rate of return, don't know how to do property, or don't want to do it themselves. So they get the nice, I mean, we pay about between 6 and 8% at the moment to our angels. So they're getting a better rate of return than they get in the bank. And they're getting similar, you know, rental yields are normally about 6%. So they're getting a similar income without having to do any of the work. So it works well. So how do you find them? Oh, there's lots of different ways. How I find them is I talk about property to as many different people as I can. And I notice that certain people gravitate towards me, and then they'll normally then ask me if they can be my angel. But you can also post on like social media. You can put, you know, buying properties if you want to invest with me. You know, let me like get in touch. You can even just say I'm offering like, you know, 8% return for 1 to 3 years in property. Let me know. You can use social media. There's social media groups as well. So there's Facebook groups that you can go and post your deals in, try and find an angel. There's also websites that do things similar. Business networking groups are a really great way of finding angels. Not necessarily people in the group, but they might know people. There's also like companies and people who kind of a bit of a matchmaker for angel investors and property investors. So I've got really good contacts that I have spoken to 2 very good angels. They tend to be bigger angels. Like I work with people who want to invest like 100 grand, 200 grand, 300 grand, up to 750 is the maximum that I've had. But when I'm dealing with this guy, he puts me in touch with these bigger angel like trusts, and they're looking for like £3 million investments. So yeah, it depends what kind of thing you're looking for. But they're the main ways. I feel like I've forgotten an obvious one, but they're the main ways, I think. It's a good question. Thank you. Thank you for the follows, everyone. Very kind of you. Okay, thanks. That's helpful. Sorry, you don't get many characters. Don't get many characters. Oh yes, no, you're absolutely right. Yeah, I thought you meant people. Like anyway, it's just it would be my first time. Yeah, you really don't get many characters, do you? I'll have a good think about it and see if I would have the time to be more involved. Yeah. Oh, for the yeah. I mean, yeah. um it is, and that's the thing actually, again, it's that thing of like, and I've just talked about angels. If you're, I mean, again, you can book a call with me, by the way, like there's a link in my bio. If you have money that you want to invest but you don't want to be overly involved, then maybe work with someone like myself where you can invest and then get the, you know, like I said, a really good rate of return, much better than you get in the bank. And then you know like how I invest, like from watching me today, you know how I invest. So you can book a call, we can just have a chat. And if it's not for you, that's cool. But if, you know, I can go through some details with you. But yeah, otherwise, how else would I do it? If I had money, I mean, yeah, I do get it. I do get why these hands-off property investments like are appealing. I don't know. And also I don't know much about them. I know that I've met people who haven't had good experiences, and the ones I've seen haven't been particularly good, but I'm sure there are good ones. So just make sure you do lots of due diligence. Yeah, thank you. How much should I spend on a second home? Well, for a buy-to, it depends. Like for a buy-to-let property rather than you say second home. I'm like, how much you would like to spend, my lovely? However much you've got. But if you're for a buy-to-let, it does depend on how much you've got to invest. The area will be key. So if you've got, for example, if you've got 100 grand, then you can pretty much invest anywhere. If you've got 20 grand, then you're going to be restricted. So it depends on how much you've got to begin with. Depends what your strategy is. Like typically go north for cash flows, south for capital uplift. So if you're looking to get a nice monthly income, for example, but you live in London, then maybe invest outside of London. So yeah, there's quite a few different factors. But if you pop in the comments like how much. I mean, actually, you don't have to. I've just realised you don't have to tell me how much you have to invest, but just broadly, like what you're looking for, and if you've got more or less than 50 grand, for example, then I can give you a little bit more specific advice. How do angel investors get the income? Oh, sorry, have I answered everyone? Yeah. Oh, there's a Ginny Singh, I think, was laughing emoji. I don't know what that's about. I'm sorry. I'm always a bit behind on my comments, and sometimes I don't know what they're in reference to. How do angels get the income? Wouldn't you get that? That's a really good question. So basically the way that it's set up is, so in fact, we're buying property through auction at the moment, so I'll use that as an example. So we have an angel investor who basically gives us 100, well, they get, actually, I won't use this as an example. So basically you get like 100 grand. So I'm buying 100 grand property. They would give us 100 grand. I would buy the property in my name. They would have a charge against the property, so it's a secured investment. So much like you would with a mortgage, it just stops us selling the property and going, woohoo, 100 grand. Like if we sell the property, it has to go to them first. They get like first dips, basically. So it's a secured investment. So they would give us 100 grand. We would then buy the property. We'd renovate the property, rent it out, and the income would come to us. So you're absolutely right. So then say they have like a 2-year term. So after 2 years, we pay the original 100 grand back to them. The interest, how we do it, there's a few different ways you can do it. How we do it is we actually offer 2 options. One, they can do a balloon payment. So it means that we'd borrow, say, 100 grand. Say we're giving them like 8% return, for example. We would borrow 100 grand at the beginning. If they did a balloon payment, they got all their interest at the end of the 2 years. So we then give them 116 grand back. So they get their interest that way. So all the income that we get from the property for the 2 years all comes to us. And at the end, we refinance onto buy-to-let mortgage or with another angel, and we pay that investor back with their interest. And then we have a new charge, either a mortgage or another angel. The other way that they can do it is sometimes they want a more regular payment, so they can either do monthly or annual payments. So we do a blend. We do a blend. We can't do the whole thing, because if we're paying them 8% and then the rental yield is 8%, it means we wouldn't get any income. So what we do is we give them half of whatever the interest is. So if they're paying if they're getting an 8% interest, we'd pay 4%. So it'd be like having a mortgage with a 4% mortgage rate. So we'd pay them like a monthly or annual interest, and then the rest would be in the balloon payment. So that would work out as they would get 108 at the end of the 2 years, and then they would have, I feel like I should be able to work this out. So 8 grand spread, 8 grand spread over the 2 years. I'm not going to work it out. Anyway, I'm not going to work it out. So 333. Anyway, I hope that makes sense. I apologize if I've made it more confusing than ever, but let me know if that didn't make sense. Thank you. You're an angel. Thank you. Hi, Teresa Middleton 23. What's our cut? So our cut with the angels. So yeah, so for example, I mean, I don't know the exact numbers, but say for example it is 333. We'd be getting like a rent of £700. We'd be paying the angel £333. So we'd be getting like about £350 as a monthly income, monthly cash flow. And then at the end, when we refinance, it comes from the equity, and we might be able to pull out a little bit more. But our cut is we get the house, and then at the end of the 2 years we repay them, and then we have a new charge, but basically the house goes up in value over the long run, and we get to buy a house not using any of our money. So yeah, invest in my business. Oh, the phone's beeping at me. Thank you for the follow. Samantha Leeds. Oh my God. So if anybody doesn't know, there's a guy called Samuel Leeds who is a very controversial character. He's a bit Marmite. People love him or hate him. He's very like this. Do this. Go and I'm not being mean. Like, that's just his style. I can't think of what he's like. He's like, look, I bought this property in the thing. Like, he's very forward, and so a lot of people really don't like him. It's very interesting to say Samantha Leeds, because I've never had that comparison. I actually think I'm the opposite of him. I'm a bit of a scaredy cat. And I don't think I tend to divide opinion, but we'll see. Interesting though, interesting. I think maybe just the fact that we talk about property and I talk about angel investors as well. So I don't know. More than 50k. Okay. And what was So if you have more than 50k, then you probably can invest in pretty much most areas. It does depend a little bit. Like, I had a client who is living in London, wanted to invest in London, but he wanted cash flow, and it's not the best cash flow area, but he managed to find a little niche strategy that works for him, which was great. But usually outside of London is better for cash flow. Most people are looking for cash flow. So it depends whereabouts you are. Most areas do cash flow, but you get a better cash flow the further north you go. It depends why you were doing it. If it's just to create a bit of extra income, get your money to work a bit harder for you, then get, one buy-to-let property, fabulous. Ideally, like I said, get 2 or 3 just so they support one another. Like, if you have a tenant move out, you don't lose all of your income. But it really depends on what your preference is. And then, you can, what was the question is, so you can basically take your money, buy a second property, create a bit of an income, have that go up in value. If there's anything else I've missed, let me know. I have 150k, I need help. How do I book a call with you? There's a link in my bio, basically. There's a link in my bio. Or you can go to propertyempress.com and you can book a call with me and we can have a little chat. So that's absolutely fine. So I have a call. I have now a quick question, like drop-in clinic. So if you just have a quick property question, you can book, like, it's a 10-minute call and we can just go through some property stuff. But if you want to talk to me about working with me or about being one of my angels, then book a discovery call with me and we can, I feel like I should know this. It's like 15 or half an hour call and we can go through it in a bit more detail. And it's more like working together rather than property stuff. I'm also doing my buy-to-let course in June, which is you can find on propertyempress.com as well. And I'm going to say Property Empress podcast, lots of information there. And I also do private mentoring as well. So I work one-to-one with clients, which is a premium program. We work together for 3 months. So it's really good fun. So I've got a couple, and I only work with 5 people maximum. So it's a very, it's very bespoke, intimate service. So it's good. But thank you. Yeah, link in my bio or propertyempress.com. Sorry, what I mean, how much is ideal to spend on buy-to-let to generate income if I've got 100k? Okay, sorry. Thank you. It's a good question. So if you've got 100 grand, what is the ideal, or how much is the ideal? So for me, if I had 100 grand, I would be looking at the 3 houses. I'm so boring. But you'd be splitting that into 3 properties. So you'd be maybe buying 3 100 grand houses with having a little bit extra for the renovations and purchase cost, stamp duty, things like that. But you could buy 3 100 grand properties. I mean, we're looking at Liverpool. You can be Liverpool, South Wales. There are some little pockets of areas. So it depends where you are. you've got London people, so maybe if you're in London, maybe outside. If you're happy to invest outside of London, I would definitely be thinking about that. If you're looking to generate an income, really better outside of London. But I'd be looking at 3 100 grand houses, then they can support one another, find a good area. How we do it is we find our own tenants, and I've got a whole system that I've shared on TikTok before. I can share here if you guys want to hear it, but basically we go through this system to find long-term dream tenants, renovate and regulate the property. So you buy a property, renovate it, even if it's like in fairly good condition, like just make sure it's really nice for the tenants. Do the regulation. There's a lot of regulation. Again, check out the Property Empress podcast. We talk about all the different regulation. And then find your own tenants ideally, or you can use letting agents, but obviously just do a lot of screening with them. But find your own tenants, and then basically they kind of run themselves. And then it creates, so you'd be looking really for probably about £1,000, roughly £1,000 a month. It depends on the tax and whatnot, but around £1,000 a month net passive income from 100 grand investment. And then they'd be uplifting. So if you've bought 3 100 grand properties, that's the 300 grand portfolio. So if trends, because property prices are really strong at the moment, if trends continue historically, they've doubled in value every 7 to 10 years. So in like 10 years time, maybe they might be worth, another 300 grand. So it's going up in value and it's creating a nice income. But that's what I would do. I'd probably do 3 100 grand houses. Probably Liverpool, because I'm looking there. But if you don't want to, if you're in an area and you could buy 1 300 grand house, it's absolutely fine. Just I like to diversify a little bit. But if just 1 300 grand property, if you're in an expensive area, go for it. You have my permission. Ooh la la. Okay. Oh, you're very welcome. That's London people. Thank you. I'll be in touch. That's really cool. Thanks, Adam. Thank you for getting back to me. Can we talk about capital gains if you sell a rental property? Yes, we can talk about capital gains if you sell a rental property. We're actually selling a rental property at the moment, which we don't do very often. But the reason we're doing, it was a direct to vendor. We bought it direct to vendor, and it's a good property. It's not as good as the other ones. We were actually going to sell it and replenish it with one that works a bit better. But the capital gains tax. So good question. Is there anything in particular you wanted to know? But otherwise, I'll talk generally. But capital gains tax, basically, it depends on your own, whether you're a basic rate, high rates taxpayer, whether it's in company name or own name and stuff. So I can't really talk about much of the tax and the technical stuff. But what I would say is it's normally basically how much you sell it for minus basically the gain minus a couple of other things that you can take off. I think if I remember rightly, it's like the purchase cost and selling cost, but you can't do like maintenance. That goes from the income rather than the capital gain. But what was interesting to me, because we're going through this process at the moment, is the property we're selling is in my husband's name, but because we're married, you can like transfer properties without triggering any capital gains. So he's going to gift me half of the property. So then it's half and half, and it actually brings the capital gains tax down because we can both use an allowance. So I think we're going to be saving, I think it was originally 16 grand capital gains tax, but it's now going to be 10 grand because I spoke to our accountant and we're just going to do a couple of things to make it a bit more tax efficient. So there are a couple of things that you can do. There's also like some people, I haven't got to the bottom of this. Some people say that there's certain whizzy accountants that will do stuff that means you don't have to pay any capital gains tax. I know that there's been schemes like this in the past, and then it's all kind of blown up and people have got into a lot of trouble. So I'm not sure about not paying capital gains tax. I just don't want to pay more than I need to. But yeah, if there's anything in particular, let me know. Oh, I'm not plugged in. Hang on, I'm not plugged in. Oh, does this fit? Hang on. Sorry. I'm a very professional TikToker. What can I say? Okay. Where are the best areas to invest in your opinion? I love that question. I'm such a broken record. North for cash flow, south for capital appreciation, broadly speaking, and that's over the long run. At the moment, because of the pandemic, the last like 2 or 3 years, we've seen this interesting shift where basically like the Northwest, in fact, it's so weird. So many questions coming up on TikToks that I've recorded this evening. we've seen this interesting shift in dynamic, because normally like the south is really good for capital uplift and the north isn't so good. Like it has a very slow uplift. But in the last 2 or 3 years, we've had this incredible shift, and the northwest especially is just booming. The prices are booming. So it's really interesting. So at the moment, I'm like buying the north and northwest, like, because this is like that you get both. Like you never get both normally. So it depends what your strategy is. Most people are looking for cash flow. So really the further north, Midlands and north, great for cash flow. If you're looking for capital uplift, normally I'd say the south, but actually go north at the moment. The long run, I reckon I'll go back to what it was. But for now, like I'm just enjoying that growth in Liverpool. But in terms of specific areas, again, it depends what you're looking for. The areas, again, so boring. Property Empress podcast, we did what the best areas in 2022, so you can go and check that out. But Liverpool has got this regeneration going on. It's got like, it went up like I think 14% in the last year. It's got the rental yields are really strong, like, you know, 7, 8, 9%. Hastings is really like, that went up like over 100% in the last 10 years. So that's really good for uplift. Again, it depends on what your strategy is, where, you know, whereabouts you are. I did an area comparison recently for one of my clients, and Sheffield and Nottingham came through as surprisingly strong areas in terms of capital uplift, stock, like how many houses there are, and cash flow. Where else? Like Liverpool, the ones that were on my radar are Liverpool, Nottingham, Hastings, Sheffield. I feel like there should be more. They're the main ones. They're the ones I know, and I've done area research, and they're the ones that came through. But like I said, it depends on what strategy you're doing. But good question. Oh, Eastbourne was the other one that was a surprising. It's a smaller, there's not as many houses, but it was the numbers surprised me. They were better than I was expecting. My house on the market 450 and only one viewing in 4 weeks. No way. Whereabouts is your house? Because the market is very strong at the moment. The things I would be looking at is the pricing. Has the estate agent overpromised? Because it is a strong, you know, is a strong market. That really surprised me. My sister-in-law is selling a house at the moment, and she's had in a week 6 viewings, I think. And I thought that was a little bit overpriced. So I would check the pricing. It's normally the pricing. Otherwise, it's likely to be the marketing or the estate agents doing something that's not encouraging people. The ways that you can check all of those is on Rightmove. It is hard when it's your own house, by the way, so I do appreciate that. But on Rightmove, there's the price comparison report. Is a really good tool to see what prices have sold for, what prices are on the market, and what prices are no longer on the market. So you go to, oh God, can I remember? Go to Rightmove, and you go to, I think it's house prices, price comparison report. Put your postcode in and only your postcode, and see if there's properties that are similar to yours that have been on the market and no longer on the market. You're looking like basically along there, and if they've all been on for 400, I mean, you might have already have looked at this, but if they were all on for much lower, then maybe you're overpriced. Also see what's on the market at the moment and see whether you might be overpriced. Again, the market, it's hard actually. I was going to say check the marketing, but it's hard when you're not used to looking at things. And then you can check the estate agent by phoning up and pretending to be someone that might be interested in the house, and see the experience that people are having who might be interested in the property. So they're the main 3 things. I really want to suggest that you send me the information, because I'd like to look and understand, but I'm really busy at the moment. I've got to stop taking on more work. But if you are really struggling, like, send me a message and I'll have a little look. Oops. Thank you for the follow. What area houses are flying up north? Perhaps it's overpriced. Yeah. Thank you, Cherry Blossom Henna. I haven't seen you on my, by the way, complete separate. I used to have you all over my For You page. I was obsessed with watching your videos. Haven't seen you in ages, so I don't know what's going on. I don't know if you've dropped off my algorithm. I might have to look you up because I miss your videos. I want to get on the property ladder. I need the knowledge. Yeah, I know. It's hard. I really, now that I know what I know, I see how freaking hard it is. Like, it's the financing as well. So many people like have a go at me because I'm a property investor. I'm like, it's not the landlords, it's the financing. And it's not even the financing. The banks would lend every day of the week. But because of what happened in 2007, the lending is really restricted. So I don't know. But yeah. Do you want to get on the property ladder for yourself or as in investment properties? Have a look on Rightmove, Union Street. Oh my God, hang on, is that the same lady? Yeah. Oh my God, I feel like I want to. Oh, I was looking for my phone. If I had my laptop, I could have a quick look. Yeah, I can't do it. As tempting as it is, can't do it. But good luck. Like, I hope you, yeah. It's just that it is unusual. It is a really strong market. So there's something a bit untoward or something a bit weird going on. Unless there's you're in a strange little bubble that's different from everywhere else. Thank you so much, Deep Soulful. That's very kind. Yay, it's Richard. So Pretty Much Property is my podcast buddy. So go check him out. He does some cool videos as well. But we do, I feel like we should, what was our podcast on Monday? I was talking to estate agents. So our podcast, because our podcast goes out every Monday at 8. So the last Monday was on talking to estate agents. So if you're a new property investor, it can be a bit scary making that first phone call to an estate agent. So we talk about the kind of questions they're going to ask and what kind of things you can ask as a new investor to find out about the area and the properties. So yeah, hi Richard. Were you working today? Actually, I know you're working today. You're working. Rich is a train driver, so I know you're working this weekend. Were you working this morning then, or are you at work now? Basically, you're a taxpayer, and I lived there for 5 years. Oh my God, I'm really behind on my comments again. I'm so sorry. Hang on. Oh my gosh. I catch up and then I fall behind. Oh, that's it. Yeah, capital gains. Yeah. Oh, so you live there. Hang on. Oh, do you still... So if you sell your own property, you don't pay capital gains tax on it. But if you lived there, moved out, rented it out, and then sold it, you will get some capital gains tax. I can't remember if I think they still take allowance of it. They changed the rules a while back. I don't know what it is now. But if you have rented out since you lived there, you probably will have capital gains tax. But if it's your own property, then you won't be charged. How much do you need to start off, please? Don't tell me nothing. I do have one, but hard to get another. I live in it. Okay. Oh, okay, cool, yeah. How much do you need to get start off, please? Don't tell me nothing. Well, so I won't tell you nothing, but it's also nothing. Okay. So I did a TikTok on this a while back. Basically, the minimum really you need to get started if you want to buy a buy-to-let property and you want to buy it using your own money is bearing in mind you've got stamp duty, purchase costs like stamp duty, legal fees, mortgage fees, and then you've got the deposit. I think we basically worked out that it was like 25 grand to get started. It could be lower that's to get a better rate, like to get 75% loan to value mortgage, which is better rate. But you could maybe do 85%, but the rates won't be so good. So it could be a little bit low, but ideally 25 grand to get started. But if you don't have 25 grand, then you can either use a strategy that doesn't need so much capital outlay, such as rent to rent or lease options. Or you could use angel investors, which is what we have done. But it's like having an investor for your business. So we go and buy the houses, do all the work, and we borrow money from someone that wants to get a better rate of return than they do get at the moment with the bank, and we give them a fixed rate of return basically. So they basically lend us the money, we go and buy the houses, do our thing, renovate the properties, then after a couple of years we'll refinance, pay the angel back with interest. So technically it is zero. I know you said don't say zero, but that's if you don't have any money or you don't have enough money. But the minimum really is about 25 grand. But even then it's a bit tricky because mortgages don't really like having really cheap properties and stuff, but it is technically possible. Don't tell me zero. Okay, zero. Nice techniques. I need to find a hubby. Oh, I see. I need to find a hubby to lower future capital gains tax. Do you know, it's funny as well, because when we got started, we did some property training, and we got told a few times to get married because it's better for tax. And we weren't really talking about getting married. It was like an awkward conversation. But yeah, it's a weird recommendation from a lot of experienced property people to get married. It does help if you're with a long-term partner and you're like, I'm not bothered about getting married. It does help for property. It saved us 6 grand. So yeah. Yeah, I hear you. The podcast is fab. You're absolutely right, Richard. Nottingham has the cat cafe. I stayed above the cat cafe. There's a video where I talked about it when I stayed in Nottingham. Yes, the cat cafe. I didn't go in though. I didn't have enough time. I had stupid clients that I had to go and see. But I stayed, there's a travel lodge above it and I stayed there. So I was very, very wanting to go to the cat cafe, but didn't actually get to do it, unfortunately. But yes, you're right. Kettering, no way, you're Kettering. So I grew up in Northampton and my portfolio is in Northampton. So you're selling, aren't you? Oh, I don't know why that's not. Oh, that's made it even more like so tempted to go and get my laptop and do the research. Yeah, I don't know why that's not selling. That's very normally priced, but it could, like I said, it could be the other things as well. But check them out and see. And also talk to the estate agent. Why ask your estate agent why are there no viewings? What's going on? Normally, if it's overpriced and they're not getting interest, they'll be proactive. After a couple of weeks, they tend to come and talk to you if it's not getting any interest and they think it's overpriced. There are also other things like you can declutter. I know some people who will hire a storage facility and just take as much stuff out as possible to make it look nicer. You can give it maybe liquor paint or something like that. But usually, if it's, usually the pricing is a key factor, particularly in this market. But yeah, I hope you do find a buyer. Can you refinance if your house doesn't go up in value? You can refinance. You can move to it because the refinance is moving to a new product. So if you bought a property and then the property for like 75% loan to value, for example, and 2 years down the line when you come out of your fixed rate, it's worth the same amount of money. You could just go to 75%. Another 75% mortgage. So you can absolutely do that. You just can't pull any, and again, you can't really pull any equity out. But if you wanted to, like you could just go and hire, and again, this is just buy-set mortgages, but you could go and hire loan to value. So if we bought a property for 75% loan to value, and then in 2 years' time, we wanted to pull some money out, we could potentially go to 85%. It's just not such good rates. So yeah, I guess the answer is if there's equity in it, up to the maximum that you can go, then you can pull some money out. But you can certainly get new products. But it's a good question. Thank you. Thank you for the follow. Are there any discount codes for the buy-to-let course? Did you message me about this? Someone else messaged me. I'm really rubbish. I've got loads going on at the moment, so I'm really rubbish at replying. That's why I've set up my quick question drop-in clinic. So if you want an actual, because I get loads of people message me, which is fabulous. I love it, and I do reply to everyone, but sometimes it can take me 4 weeks to reply. So if you want a quick question, if you want a quick reply book with my quick question, drop-in clinic. But someone messaged me. I apologize if it's you and I've not come back to you. I don't have any discount codes actually. What I do is I offer, if people book enough in advance, I offer a free, I include a strategy call as well. And basically, and there's a couple of reasons. One, it's nice obviously to offer like if people book enough in advance to offer an incentive. But also it gives me enough time to actually do it. If you book the day before, I don't have enough time to do it. But the strategy call is really useful because it gives you we talk about the money that you've got to invest, like the area, the time, like how far you want to be from the area. We talk about the different strategies. It gives a little bit of focus and a little bit of personalized help basically before the buy-set course, which is then when obviously you go on the course and we go through all the content. So I don't offer a code, but I do offer a strategy call included as well. So yeah, yes, that's what I've got to say about that. Do you offer advice? Yes, I do. So yeah, I don't offer financial, legal, mortgage, tax advice. I try and hopefully it's very clear when I answer the questions. I say you need to talk to an accountant, but this is generally speaking. But yeah, if you want some guidance on property and particularly what you could do, in your circumstances, then yeah, basically you can, if you go to the link in my bio or you can go to propertyempress.com, you can book either book if you want to work with me, you can book a discovery call. We can have a little chat about what you're looking for and I can talk to you about what's the best way to work with me. Or you can book a 10-minute slot on my quick question. Like if it's a quick question, then you can book a 10-minute slot on my quick question drop-in clinic. Otherwise I do like a 1-hour consultation, 2-hour consultation if you want to go in a bit deeper. So do that as well. I think that's all. And then obviously I'll do my buy-to-let course. and my podcast. Yeah. What that was what I was going to say. What is there anything in particular that you were looking for advice on? Hi, it's me from East London, Metaverse. Yeah, I know who you are based on that. Thank you. People are offering my mum and dad money to rent their place in Cyprus. So books my mum a ticket to fly over there and get it Airbnb ready, I guess. Any advice? Oh, wow. Hang on. So do they live in, hang on, let me understand. So do they have a property in Cyprus, but they live in the UK? Yeah, you said books my mum a ticket to fly over there and get it Airbnb ready, I guess. Oh, I see. So what's going on with the Cyprus property at the moment then? So they want to rent it, but for a short time, presumably? Anyway, it probably doesn't matter. But yeah, certainly in terms of getting it Airbnb ready, yeah, like you need to dress it, yeah, get it ready for a holiday. Yes, I don't really have any advice. It's an interesting situation. But yeah, I mean, the main thing I always go to is if there's mortgage on it, make sure it's not breaking any mortgage rules. Not my area of expertise, I think, generally, but I think it's if they've got a place and someone wants to rent it, there's a bit of income for your parents. So it sounds quite cool. But yeah. Trying to think if there's anything else. Not really. In terms of the dressing it, I mean, actually, in terms of dressing it, I would probably look at what's on Airbnb, what people offer, and just copy that. But basically, it's just making sure people can live comfortably for how long they're staying for. Oh, maybe a cleaner. If they're staying longer term as well, maybe find a cleaner. Good luck with it, though. We are a 5-bedroom factory with annex and converted outbuildings on street of 3-bedroom terraces. Right, yeah. So yeah, a bit of an unusual or a bit of an interesting property. 5-bedroom factory with annex and converted outbuildings in Kettering. That's very cool. Yeah. So you're going to potentially struggle with the market value because there's not very good comparables. How much are the 3-bed terraces going for out of interest? So 5-bed. See, that seems reasonable to me. 350 for Kettering for a 5-bedroom factory with annex and converted outbuildings. That feels very reasonable. I don't know. Interesting. I'll talk to your estate agent and see what they say. I'm the spare driver until midnight. Yeah, fair enough. Oh my God. What time did you start today? Has it been a long day? Did you see my question? Oh, did I skip over? I'm sorry, I'm a bit behind on my comments. Stevie G. I think yours was the one about do you offer advice? Yeah, sorry, I've answered that now. Hopefully you saw it. I'm sorry, I'm just a bit behind. Go and cut someone out. What does that mean? Anyway, we'll try and answer them. Yeah, there's a delay sometimes. Yeah, you're absolutely right. I'm so sorry. Sorry, Stevie. Thanks, Richard. Thank you for that. 0 is that. How much is your course and does it teach to start with 0? Yes, the course is 5, so it's a weekend training. So it's Zoom. It's all done like this, kind of on Zoom though. It's a live course, but on Zoom, if that makes sense. But yeah, it's the Saturday and Sunday. I feel like I should know the dates, but sometime in June. I'm thinking it's the 14th, 15th, but don't quote me. But yeah, basically we have, if you book now, then you get a strategy call as well. So we'd have a strategy call, then it's the 2 days training and we go through everything. And yeah, so we do talk about starting with 0. We talk about angel investors. We talk about everything really. We talk about finding areas, like doing like area comparisons, talking to estate agents, the numbers, tax, like tenants, renovations, absolutely everything. So we go through all the content over those 2 days, and then you have the 14-day action plan to get it started. So you have like tangible daily steps to put everything into practice. And you also have the momentum call with me. So after and I always say this, after you've done the 14-day action plan, you can book a call, but it's not a strict thing. If you want to book the call straight away, for example, you can, but then you have like a momentum call with me. So we have an hour call where we like, basically I give you, the idea really is that you do the content, go put stuff into practice, and then you can kind of have a call with me and I can give you like answer any questions, give you some bespoke advice. But yeah, sorry. So it's £555 for all of that basically. And you also get like a buy-to-let empowerment pack as well, which is loads of like documents. And I've got like, I'm a bit of a numbers nerd. So I've got a spreadsheet to do all the numbers, like the tenancy agreements. There's also like, if you're going to use angels as well, I've got this, my favorite thing. I've got a flow chart if you come to refi, because you've got to have loads of backup options. If you're borrowing money, you need to know that you can pay it back. So we have loads of backup options in case the market doesn't go as doesn't go as you'd want, or something happens that you can't pull the money out of the property. So I've got this flow diagram for all the different options available and things like that. So it's all kind of included. But yeah, you can go to propertyempress.com. There's more information about it. I really don't see the pics and send me if I could improve for advertising it. I actually used to have an estate and lettings agency in Northampton. Funnily enough, it was me and a business partner, and it was an all female estate agency. So we had this woman solicitor, woman accountant, and then me and my business partner, who were both women. And it was awesome. I absolutely freaking loved it. But one of the things I was really passionate about was the marketing, and it used to drive me crazy how vanilla the marketing is. Like, no one's actually selling the property. And so one of the things that I really like doing was I like selling the properties and seeing, because I see property very differently from an estate agent, and it's that finding that unique selling point and being able to really sell the property. So yeah, I loved it. And this was in the recession. This is a flat market where it's hard to sell properties, and I was just like, yeah, because of how we did it, it was great. But we only did it for a year anyway. It's a whole different story. And we moved out the area. I had to stop, and my business partner had to stop for personal reasons as well. But yes, no, send it to me. And I shouldn't say that because I've got so many people I need to reply to, but send it to me. There's a contact form on propertyempress.com, and I'll have a little look. I'll try and do it as soon as I can. It might not be straight away, but it'll be soon. How much are these? What was that in reference to? I'm really sorry. I'm a bit behind my comments. How much are these? Oh, what was that in response to? I'm so sorry. What was that in reference to? Sorry. How was the recourse for the party group? Oh, what was the recourse for the party group? There wasn't really. It was fine. So I did a TikTok on for people who don't know. We had our first Airbnb. We've been doing Airbnbs for 4 years. We've got 6 properties, and we had our first Airbnb party, and I did a TikTok on it. And they left the property immaculate. They basically booked it as like a staging area. So there was like, I can't remember, was it 50 people? But they left by 11. And the neighbours were quite rightly pissed off because there were loads of people on a Saturday night. But actually they kept it immaculate. Like, the house was absolutely immaculate. I don't think they were playing music or anything like that. It was just, there was lots of people there, and it was a block of flats, so people weren't happy, understandably. But no, like Drew, who manages everything, he does all the Airbnbs. He basically told them, to get out as soon as he heard about it. And I think he left them a negative review, quite rightly. I think it was through booking.com, so it doesn't make such a big difference. But no, that was it really. There wasn't really much after that. So yeah, our Airbnb party really wasn't that bad. I mean, it was more than we just felt awful for the neighbours, because obviously it's like what you don't want to be happening. But they seem okay. They've been all right with us since. Cool. Oh my god, I'm so behind on my car. All right, catch up. They bought a dream villa in Northern Cyprus, spent some money there, spent some time there and some time here. So it's empty a lot of time. So they are at the point of thinking it's worth renting a lot of time. Yeah, and then on it. Brilliant. Beautiful. I would do the same. That's a great idea. Just sold a 3-bedroom Victorian terrace, fully refurbed in Kettering for 250. Bought at auction 156. Nice. Wow, that's really cool. Yeah. Oh, I miss Kettering. Very nice. Yeah. My sister-in-law put her place for sale in South East London, 525, 550, got over the asking price. Yeah. And that's kind of more what's typical. I think the thing with the other lady's property is, I think it's a little bit unusual, and particularly if it's in exactly like she said, it's 3-bedroom terrace properties, then she's got like this larger properties, all these outbuildings. So I think it's just a bit of an unusual property. They do tend to take a little bit longer, like the unusual ones. It sounds really cool though. Do you cover lawyers and how to factor in legals correctly? We do. I mean, mainly I rely heavily on my team of advisors, and that's one of the things I cover. So I share all of my contacts, all of my like various like financial and legal people. So yeah, the legals, I mean, yes, in terms of the property purchases and sales, I do talk about them. To be honest, it goes to the solicitor and they do all that side of things. Certainly if you're using angel investors, you do need to be aware of the legality side of that, which again, I do talk about. And how to factor in the legals correctly. So yeah, we do in terms of the costings, yeah, that gets included in the numbers as well. So yeah, but it's a really nice, and I should probably also say with the, I'm assuming you're talking about the buy-to-let course. Again, it's only 5 people. I always work with small groups. I don't want to I like the intimacy of having just 5 people on the course. So there's 5 people, couples. Like I should also said that if you're investing, if you're a couple and you're investing, then the 555 is for both of you. In fact, I've had 2 sisters that were investing together. So if you're investing with someone, then it's for 2 people. But if you're on your own, then it's just for 1. What was I going to say? I've forgotten what. I've taken myself for a fruit now. So yeah. Oh, what was the other thing I was going to say? But yeah, we do. Oh no, that was what I was going to say. The nice thing about being in a small group of just 5 people, 5 couples, is that I can kind of adapt it as we go along to the individuals, because and particularly if I've done strategy calls with you, I know your situation. So then as we go along, like, if everyone in the group is using angels, we'll be very heavy with talking about angel investors, whereas if everyone has their own money, then we'll be a little bit lighter. So I can kind of adapt it, so it's really nice. So if there is anything specific around like the legals and stuff like that, then we can go into it. The second half of the second day is an open space that we get to basically ask everyone what they want to cover. And if there's anything in particular they want to go through, if they've got any questions, or if there's anything that they're not sure on. So it's a very interactive course. So if there's anything in particular you're worried about, there's space to talk about it. Oh, cool. That's good to know. Thanks, Sean. And then the agents push everyone's prices up even more. Dutch auction style. What's Dutch auction style? I've not heard of that before. Is that the closed bid thing where they say just give your final offer? Sounds about yeah. I mean, again, it's that market for it, it's how it goes. Hello, nice to see you. I'm good, thank you. How are you? Hang on. If you mass build houses on such a large scale, could that decrease the cost of each house? Like economies of scale coming into play? Oh, that's a good question. I mean, it depends what you're talking about mass builds. Like if you're talking about 5,000 houses, I mean, to be honest, probably not. Probably not. We've got near us, there's a huge block of flats, and it's really, really enormous and all around the back. And I think it's a bit of a beast. And if it took too long to sell the properties, then it probably could do. But basically, because it's such a huge project, they start selling them from the get-go. I don't think so. It might be. We don't do builds ourselves. I think it has the potential, but I think if it managed properly, it probably wouldn't, because there's so much demand for houses. But it's a good question. What are your thoughts on it? What do you think would happen? It's a good question. Thank you. How much was in reference to your calls, I believe? Oh, yeah, sorry. Thank you. Oh, the 1 hour consultation and 2 hour consultation. I don't know. I've changed my prices recently. You have to go and check out propertyempress.com. Sorry, I can't remember. I can't remember. But yeah, there's a few different ways that people can that you can connect with me. So, and I offer like the £10 quick question thing, all the way up to premium, like my private mentoring, which is a 3-month premium container, that's £5,000. But I'm like on the journey with you. So I try, and then I do like I said, the podcast, I do loads of stuff on social media. So I try and cater to all budgets. So hopefully you'll find something on there that works for you. But thanks, Richard. That's good to know. Do you recommend short-term lets or long-term lets with buy-to-let investment? What is the most stress-free? Oh, most stress-free buy-to-lets. It's such a good question. So Short term, they're so different. So short term lets like Airbnb and things like that, they're like service accommodation, they're much better income overall, much better income. Assuming you've got like to like properties, like so much better income, but it's seasonal. So you'll have typically have summer highs and then like winter, well, not really winter lows because you have Christmas, but you usually have like peak and off peak. So we go, because we do rent to rent, so we rent properties from landlords, turn them into Airbnbs, and we can be making £4,000 a month per property during the summer, and we've got 6 of them. And then in the winter, they can just be covering costs. But we specifically look for medium-term rentals when it's off-peak. So people who are looking for 1 to 3 months rental. So people who are doing training courses or like renting to corporate clients if they've got, people working in the area. So it boosts the income. But it's a really good income. It's seasonal, but it's hospitality, so it can be a nightmare. Drew's been doing it for 4 years, and he got a really shitty negative feedback today, and it was like water off duck's back, but it's taken 4 years to get to that point because he puts his heart and soul into it. He takes such good care of his guests, and then he gets an arsehole staying in his property, and it used to absolutely kill him, but he's much better now. He doesn't take it personally. He knows that person's just not in a position. It's like with me, with my trolls online, it's not about me, it's about them. Like, if you're going to be that kind of person, and I saw this review from this guy, and he doesn't sound very nice. So you have to have thick skin because it's full on, and it's hospitality, so it's not passive. You can get someone to manage the property for you. You can systemize things, make it a little bit more passive, but broadly speaking, it's quite an active income. Buy-to-lets, on the other hand, a much steadier income. It is much lower than Airbnbs, but it's slow and steady. It's passive, so done in the right way, it can be pretty hands-off. So for me, I'm lazy, so I like buy-to-lets. For Drew, he loves the Airbnbs. It suits him better. So it depends what your strategy is. Because I think with service accommodation, I always think it's really good if you want to build a property income and leave your job, which a lot of people want to do. Doing buy-to-lets is going to take quite a long time. Whereas you could start with Airbnbs, get out of your job and have flexibility with your time, build the buy-to-let portfolio. Then when you have enough buy-to-let from your buy-to-let portfolio, then you can potentially convert the Airbnbs into buy-to-lets, for example. So it's a quicker income from Airbnb if you're doing rent to rent, especially, and bigger income. So it depends what your strategy is. But it's a good question, thank you. Yeah, thank you. Going to spend on strategy and long-term plans? Yeah, good answer, Richard. Thank you for the share. Basically, I called up all the people who made offers and then they increased their offer. Oh, interesting. Oh my God, honestly. Interesting. But I guess it's a good way, in this market, because the estate agent's role is to work hard for their clients and to get a good, offer. So I guess it works. Hi, Richie Cox. Nice to meet you. Okay, thanks. No strategies yet, but keeping it as stress-free as possible probably not Airbnbs. Probably vice versa. You're good, thanks. That's good. Whatever Anna is charging, it's worth 10 times more, I promise. Oh, bless you. Thank you, Richard. I'll pay you later. Do you use a commercial property surveyor? I'm a graduate surveyor. Any tips? I don't really do, this is true. I mean, I guess technically Airbnb is commercial, but I don't really do commercial. I'm more of a buy-to-let baby, I have to say. So not really, but I do. The surveyor I use is amazing, a fabulous guy, very, 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 very experienced, and he's okay with me phoning him up about all kinds of crazy stuff. I don't have any tips. I feel like you should be giving me tips. I don't think so. No, I just good luck with it all. I have to say, I think if I wasn't a property investor, I'd quite like to be a surveyor, so I'm a bit jealous, but no, that's really cool. I feel like I should give you something, but I just don't have anything except say good luck and enjoy your job. Do you invest in HMOs? We have done, but not anymore. I always thought I'd get into HMOs in a big way, but I never really did. I think that buy-to-lets work so well for us that we just didn't go down the HMO route. I did used to manage HMOs as well when I had the letting agency. Also, for anyone who doesn't know, HMOs is house and multiple occupations, so they're multi-let properties. So you can take the same house But I mean, typically I think of it like there's different kinds of HMOs, but typically it's like a 3-bedroom, 2 reception room property that you'll turn one of the reception rooms into 4th bedroom and then rent the individual rooms to like students, young professionals, like if it's near a hospital, nurses, if it's near an airport, airline staff. And you can potentially take the same property and make a much higher income. But it's there's a lot more regulation that comes with it. So you've got licensing, you've got like what's called an Article 4, where you have to get special planning permission to turn a regular house into an HMO and things like that. So it's a little bit more, but it's not, I don't think it's not like crazy stuff. So as long as you get your head around it, you can search HMO licensing. If you're looking in an area, search for Article 4 HMO licensing on your council's website. There'll be loads of help and advice there. But it's a nice way of getting a higher income, basically, for potentially the same property. What is is it something you're doing or interested in doing? I think that if we could autonomize the construction industry, it would certainly reduce the cost of a house per unit. Oh, I see. Obviously, I can't say it. Wouldn't happen for quite a while. Plus, the cost of having automated equipment would be very expensive. But over time, that cost of the equipment capital will go down. Yeah. I think it's interesting, isn't it? It's not something I've really put much thought into, but they obviously you have it. It's very interesting. It's interesting. I mean, I think the problem with new builds is there's a perception that they're not particularly great quality. So the idea of maybe saving costs, like I have some slight resistance to that, but that's not from an informed space. That's from a perception of that's with new builds. And I think when you're building lots of new builds, it is harder to have that quality. So I don't know. But then I don't know. It's interesting. It's interesting. Anyway, I might have to think about that one. But thank you. Good question. Okay, thanks. I wish Be Kind's extended to Airbnb. Don't think I can handle a negative. I know. I mean, it's taken us. I mean, actually, what did help with us was the first negative comment we had got was because there were too many candles in the property, and they wrote a whole long thing about candles. There were 4 in the whole property. They were in the photos from their books. So it was such a ridiculous negative feedback or negative review that we didn't really take it personally. The issue we have is that with Airbnb, if you get enough negative reviews, particularly when you're relatively new, they suspend your accounts. Like, they're really harsh with that, particularly when it was like such a ridiculous review. I think Drew had Superhost. Oh, was it that one? No, he lost that was it. He was a Superhost and he lost it because someone gave him a 1 out of 10 complaining there was no washing machine, but it was never listed as having a washing machine, and the washing machine was out of action. That's why it wasn't listed as having a washing machine. So she left 1 out of 10 because of something that was never listed, and he lost Superhost status, which means he gets pushed down the algorithm. So it is hard, but going into it knowing that that's the case, you're more likely to be okay with it. And there's loads of, and it's the same with social media. I mean, the amount of hate they get on social media, I think you get better at dealing with it. And you also you adapt to it as well. Like, I am a bit more careful with what I say. I'm a bit more careful with my hashtags because I just don't want to be in that space of opening myself up to loads of hate. And I do not post certain content, like certain videos now, because I just know it's just not worth it. And other videos I make sure I post, like when I talk about dream tenants, because I know that actually people really like those. I get more nice comments, so for my own mental health, I'll just adapt to it. But yeah, it's I wish Be Kind extended to Airbnb and social media. But even now I think I keep trying to say automation of building certain parts is certainly possible. Yeah, I think of the what's it called, like 3D printing. Surely that would extend. I don't know if they really do that. That would extend to building houses, definitely. Interesting. Is now the best time to buy? As a first time buyer worried about the market crashing? Yeah. So I did a video on this. Hello, my cat's come and say hello. I did a video on this like 3 videos back about there's a common belief system. There's a an 18-year property cycle. So prices will go up for 14 years, then we'll go through a recession, they'll drop for 4 years. I don't personally buy into it, but I understand why a lot of people do. And the next prediction is 2026. So you've got 4 years of uplift before potentially they come down. But one thing I would say is when, like, if they talk about the crash, the previous 2 times that we've had property crashes, which was in the 1990s and then the 2007 credit crunch, price came down by 10%, but bearing in mind, like at the moment, most prices are going up by about 10% per annum. So if you're in it for the long run, it doesn't necessarily matter if prices come down. And if it's for your own home as well, like, you know, it's a very different thing than being a property investor, particularly using borrowed funds, if the prices come down. But if you're buying your own home, then you'll, I mean, I don't want to say you're okay, but like, you know, it's a bit about being, if it's important to you to buy your own home, it's a long-term game, basically. The other thing as well is that, again, knowing that prices, when they have dropped, they've dropped by 10% the last 2 times. In fact, they dropped by 15%, they then recover and then plateau about 10% drop. So again, with a buy-to-let or your own home, the equity is going to be, normally you have to put 10% deposit down or 25% for, well, you can do 15%, normally 25% for a buy-to-let. So even if prices do come down a little bit, you're still going to you're unlikely to be in negative equity, which was something that was very common in 2007. It meant people couldn't sell their homes because they used to have 120% mortgages. So there would be 30. So when prices came down by 10%, they were basically 30% like in negative equity. So you're not likely to have that now. I don't know if that made sense. I think I'm tired, so I might have to go in a few minutes. I'll try and catch up my comments. But yeah, I hear you. It is really difficult, but time in the market is so much more important. Like prices double over the long. Historically, prices have doubled every 7 to 10 years over the long run on average in the UK, depending on the area. Like the north, not so much, but the south, yes. So you'll know over the long run the prices are going to go up again, almost certainly. Oh, it's my husband. Oh, goodness. There's something in the darkness over there. Autonomization be more financially viable if the government subsidizes the cost. Yeah, well, yeah. They should do, really, shouldn't they? Because there's such a shortage of housing. I don't know. Yeah. Hi, I have a large house at 1.5 mil. I want to sell. How should I reinvest into property for income? Well, that's a good question. So this isn't so you're not going to be selling 1.5 to buy another house for you to live in. It's just 1.5 to invest. So invest in property for income. I mean, in terms of, so if you're investing in buy-to-lets, for example, like whatever pot you have, whether it's 100 grand or 1.5 million, as a very broad rule of thumb, you can times that by 4, and that's how much you can buy for a portfolio. You're going to have some costs. It's not exactly right, but broadly speaking, if you have 100 grand, you could buy a 400 grand house. If you have 1.5 million, you could build a £3 million portfolio. So knowing with that in mind, you can then work out what income you want to build. So if you want to, build a replacement salary, for example, so I don't know what your, say typically, I think, I don't know, say your salary is 3 grand. Probably not, but say it's 3 grand a month, then you'd be looking at, well, what do I need to buy to get to that 3 grand a month? Like how many properties? Buy-to-lets typically at the moment is about £300 a month net passive income. So you need 10 houses to be able to build a £3,000 income. So you might want to maybe be looking at some higher incoming properties like HMOs or multi-let properties where it's more like £1,000. So then you could buy like 3 properties that would give you in total £3,000. And then you can work out, if you then know you're buying 3 HMOs, for example, and you've got 6 million, actually that doesn't really work, but like up to £6 million of portfolio, like investment, then you choose your area accordingly. I explained that horribly, but broadly speaking, like work out how much income you want, work out what area works for that, and also look at a few different property strategies. Like I really like buy-to-lets, but you've got buy-to-lets, you've got HMOs, which are multi-let properties. You can get bigger HMOs. We bought a property that we're turning into a 10-bed HMO that would cash flow £3,000 a month. So you can maybe do bigger properties if you need a bigger income and you have more to invest. The other thing you could do is invest with someone like me. Then you could get the nice income without having to do all of the work. It doesn't have to be me, but like find, you can be an angel investor if you don't want to get overly involved yourself. But there's loads of different ways that you can do it. It really depends on what you're trying to create, like how much income, like a few different factors. But again, check out, like we talk about stuff like this on the Property Empress podcast, so you can check that out as well. What just happened to my comments? Oh my gosh. Sorry, my comments like skipped. Right, I can tell I'm getting really tired, so I'm gonna try and catch up my comments and I'm gonna log off. Candlegate scandal, yes. 4 candles or 4 candles. But with new builds, quality certainly has reduced because of government guidance for developments plus the lack of quality control. I always wondered about that. I didn't exactly know why the quality had come down. But interesting. That councils will not accept new developments unless it meets government's guidance. Yeah. You think it's worth it in property? Is that in reference to something? But yes, I do think it's worth it in property. The property is the tool, remember. So like there's loads of different ways that you can do it. There's loads of different kinds of property. You don't even have to do property. It's just one investment tool. It's not for everyone. There's lots of other ways that you could do it. I like property because it's passive income. But you can certainly look at other passive incomes as well. And the thing for me is it's creating time, like it's creating an income that's not linked to my time, so then I can do other things in my time. And we have little kids. I always say little kids. They're 7 and 9. They're not that little anymore, but they're little enough that they need our attention. We flexi school. So for me, property works because it gives me the lifestyle I want. But it doesn't have to be property. But yes, I think property is worth it. Are you worried about rising interest rates in the near future as the inflation is close to 10%? Yeah. Well, according to some people, it's over. Like, I'm a bit confused about the whole inflation thing because I thought it was 10%, but some people are saying it's over, saying that they don't report it properly or something. But anyway, I'm not worried about rising interest rates because I think it's been great having really low interest rates, but we always knew it was going to rise again. We have fixed interest mortgages on almost all of our properties, so it doesn't impact us. And actually what we are doing is, and this is a good, this is what we have always done. So the idea is that you need to review your portfolio periodically, particularly when the market does move, like prices have gone up a lot and interest rates are starting to move. So it's a really good time, review your portfolio. If there's any properties that are no longer working as well as they could do, then sell the properties off and replenish them with ones that are. So that's why I don't really worry about interest rates. So my cat has been really cute. So that's why I'm not too worried about interest rates. And inflation is all the more reason to invest in property because of inflation being what it is at the moment. Property prices are really booming. So it's good to be in property. Government guidance wants houses to be built close together with small gardens and small roads. Yeah, I guess presumably to get as much out of them as possible. So if you've got a space, it's like, because there's such a deficit of properties, it's to get more houses and more people in houses to make as much use of space as possible. Yeah. Not only to meet housing needs, but also to make more money. Do you reckon? Yeah, I mean, yeah, but the government guidance. And again, maybe you are right, because actually the more money, if developers are drawn to making, property development because it makes money, then yeah, I guess so. Because each bit of land is being utilised more, yeah. 120%, yeah, it used to be, not anymore. That's 100%, 20% mortgages. Thank you so much. That made sense. It was very useful. I'm glad. I feel like I'm not making much sense anymore. Thank you. Thanks for the follow. Did you go to uni? If so, what did you study? If you don't mind me asking. No, I don't mind you asking. I went to Exeter Uni and I studied maths because I'm a maths nerd and I love my maths and my numbers. If you watch my videos, you'll see that I like my maths. What motivates you to do what you do? My children, honestly. When we started 12 years ago, I actually stumbled into property. I didn't really mean to be here, but we went to this property seminar and then signed up for this 3-day training. And one of the things they got you to do is to talk about your why, like why you wanted to do property. And for me, it was that I was missing my niece and nephew grow up. I was working like 14-hour days. I was like working a very stressful job, and I was missing my niece and nephew grow up. And my why was so that I could spend more time with my niece and nephew. And then 2 years later, I had had Louisa, my daughter. And then soon after I had Thomas, and now it's all about them. So it's always been about spending time with kids. But the passive income is about the family lifestyle and creating a lifestyle that works for all of us, basically. But also what motivates me at the start is that we were in quite a lot of debt. I didn't even realise that we were in so much debt. We had 17 grand's worth of debt. And we went to this training, we found that out because they got us to do like an asset and liability and income statement just for our own, just so that we knew our finances. And I had no idea we had 17 grand's worth of debt. So I was like, we need to pay off this debt. We did the property training, had 3 offers accepted. We were going to be flipping houses to begin with to clear the debt, had 3 offers accepted. Then I lost my job. Drew was out of work at the time anyway, because it's the recession. So we moved into my mum's spare room to focus on the property stuff. So that was a good motivator. That gave us a kick up the arse. So we spent the first year flipping houses, clear the debt, got a small portfolio of properties to support ourselves, and then moved into our own home, our first home together, and got married, and then fairly soon afterwards got pregnant. So we built the portfolio, then kind of lived off the passive income whilst we had the kids. And then as they got a little bit older, we started doing property again. So yeah, this is a good question though. Do you want me to be moderator? Some people are posting some rude stuff. Oh, I hadn't seen that. Okay, hang on, let me thank you. I can't make people moderators on, I don't think. I've had this before, but yeah, that's very kind. If you could send me a message somewhere on my, with your username, then I can set you up as a moderator for future ones. But I don't think I can put you as moderator during, that's right. But Richard, I don't know if Richard's still on, but Richard's one of my moderators as well. But thank you, it's really kind. I'm going to try and skip through my comments to make sure, or to try and stop rude comments. Thank you for the follow. How can I invest with you? You can book a discovery call. So on propertyempress.com, or there's a link in my bio. You can book a call with me if you want to work with me in any way, or you need some property help or guidance. There's 2 different ways. Well, it's all on my website, but yeah, you can book a call with me if you want to invest with me. That would be very cool. Thank you. Oh, thank you. I'm glad you like my advice. Yeah, we hope. Hope we get a moderator. Oh, okay. What's my podcast? Property Empress Podcast. Again, there's a link in my bio, but you can find it on all the main platforms like Spotify and Apple Podcasts and stuff, but it's Property Empress Podcast. The one I always recommend people start, well, obviously all of them, but the 3rd episode is First 7 Steps to Get Started in Property Investing. It's a really good one. I want to buy property for renting for the first time. Your opinion? Property investing is a great way. I mean, the nice thing about rental properties is the passive income. It gives you a nice monthly income, and it goes up in value over the long run, almost certainly. But there's a lot to learn. It's not a crazy, weird, complicated world. There's just quite a lot to go through. Like there's a lot of regulation and finding properties and stuff like that. So that's again, go check out the Property Empress podcast, because I try and break down as much of it as possible, and obviously on my TikToks as well. I'm going to be doing a YouTube. I have got a YouTube channel, but I haven't posted on it in a long time. But I'm going to be doing YouTube tutorials on there as well as soon as I can find some time. But yeah, good luck with it. Good luck with it all. Hi, talking of moderators. Hi, Adriana, how are you doing? I have got such a gorgeous group of moderators. I'm just really shit at telling them when I'm coming online. So I'm really sorry. Nice to see you. Glad I found you very depressed. I assume that means you. I have 20k saved but still cannot afford a family home. Any advice? Oh, I feel for you. Oh my god, I'm really behind on my comments. Yeah, I feel for you. It's really hard. Really, really hard. See, first of all, it's amazing you saved 20 grand. It's freaking A. That's amazing. Actually, one thing I would say, and it's not advice, but it's just something to ponder, is it's easy to buy rental property. And I hadn't thought of this until I just read your thing, so thank you so much. It's easier to buy a rental property than it is to buy your own home. So for 20 grand, you could go and buy a rental property that will give you an income that can then pay for your rent. We actually choose to rent. We've done both. We've lived in our own home. We've also rented, and we now currently choose to rent. And we have got a property portfolio because it's easier to build a property portfolio, build an income that then pays the rent. So rather than us living in our own home going, well, I'm on the property ladder and I'm not paying money on rent, we rent, but we have enough houses that we get the same outcome, if that makes sense. I'm tired, so I'm going to have to go in a minute, and I'm not making much sense. But maybe consider, I mean, first of all, it's amazing that you save 20 grand. There are areas in the UK that you could get on the property ladder that I'm assuming probably not in your area. You can also use the techniques that I talk about, like the angel investors, for getting on the property ladder. That's how we bought our first place together, because once we learned how to use angel investors, we used it for our own place. But for now, we actually choose to rent, and then we used, well, we didn't use our money. We always use angel investors. But if I had 20 grand, I'd be spending it on a rental property that would help me to pay my rents, if that makes sense. But yeah, I'm sorry to hear that you're depressed, but I'm glad you found me. Mortgage. Thank you for the follow. Yes. How? Oh, I need more context. I'm sorry, I'm a little bit behind on my comments. Hi, if I bought half my property cash, other half rented, could I use some of my money to put on other what's? Yeah, you can do the what they're called, where you rent half property and own it. They're quite restrictive. Make sure you check the terms, because they're very specific about how it works. So I think it's a great idea. It's a really nice way to get on the property ladder, particularly if you're like low income household and things like that. But they're very restrictive, so just be a bit mindful. I don't know what the question is. I'm so sorry. Could I use some of my money to put on other? I'm sorry, I'm not sure what you mean. So you buy your own home and then have some money to buy a rental property? Yes? I don't know. Oh, thank you, Boy Medic. Developers will only want to build houses if there is certain profit to be made. Yeah. Because they're a business. Like, why would you have a business if you can't make any profit? Yeah. Co-ownership, yeah. Help to buy, house share, keep renting. Yeah, sometimes rent is cheap. Yeah, very good advice. Thank you. That's lovely motivation. But also, the more people living on one bit of land, the more you can tax, etc. Yeah, true. Very true. I had a mortgage 12 years ago, so cannot do help to buy. Oh, yeah. Houses in Dorset are so expensive. Yeah, you're in Dorset. Yeah. Yeah, I think if I was in your situation, well, there's a few ones. You can either do, I said this, like, I'm behind on my comments, so sorry if you've already commented, but angel investors, you also look at lease options as well. That might be a possibility. And then, yeah, staying in rental, probably the three main options I would do. But what the other lady said as well, or person said as well, it was good advice. Thank you for the follows. How do you find time for yourself? Because it sounds like you yeah, I used to have a lot of time before I joined TikTok. But I love it. Then my kids are older now, so I love sharing this stuff, and I love like what I've got. I only work with, like I said, I only work with a very small handful of clients, so that I can keep the balance. But my kids take up most of my time, to be honest. My husband did bedtime tonight, so I came on my live, but I haven't been live in probably like 2 months. Like, I used to come every other night. But again, the beauty of having passive income is it frees up your time to do things that you love. And I love being on TikTok. I love working with my clients. I feel very blessed, everything that's happened from being on TikTok. I've always been on social media. I've always been teaching and whatnot, but I'm not in this way. This has taken me to a whole other level. But no, I definitely find time to myself. But thank you. Renting is depressing. I'm 42. I'm 42 as well. I rent, but it's a choice, and not everyone wants to rent. I get that. And I think if you want to buy and you feel you can't buy, it's awful. But for us, it's like we choose to rent, so it's a very different space. But all the same things, like lease options, angel investors. There are ways you can do it. Like, anyone can do it. I firmly believe anyone can. If you go down the conventional route, which is very restrictive, then it's really hard to buy. But if you look at alternatives, then actually I believe anyone can buy their own home, but you have to know, and obviously it's not out there. I used to do quite a lot of stuff around this, but people it never really went anywhere. People always want to talk about buy-to-let, so I don't do it so much. But yeah, I hear you. It is frustrating when you don't feel like you have any options. Hello from Huddersfield. Hello. What's your thoughts on the Somalia housing market? It's predicted to overtake the UK by 2015. Do you mean 2025? I have no idea about the Somalia housing market. That's very interesting. I'll have a little look. Thank you. Little insider tip. Get out of renting if you can. It is hard, I know. Yeah. I like and I appreciate I'm in a very different situation from a lot of people. I'm very privileged. But I like renting because it's much freer. Like if we want to move house, we can move house. We don't have to go through a whole palaver. We tend to move every like 3 years. So I quite like renting, but I do understand why a lot of people don't like it. Thanks for the follow. You inspire me, to be honest, because you make the property market seem so much more than paperwork and scratches. Thank you, I think. I like property a lot. I do like it a lot. I do understand why, again, there are a lot of not very nice or not very positive role models out there. Yeah, and it's overwhelming. There's a lot of information, a lot of misinformation as well. But yeah, I am a bit of a numbers nerd, so I get really into it. But yeah, I'm glad. Thank you. I'm glad that it's inspired you. What is your rent at the moment, and what kind of house do you want to buy? Oh, that's a good question. And you make it look so enjoyable at the same time. Yeah. Thank you. So you mean the money you make is like a sort of input? So hang on. So you mean the money you make is like a sort of input output thing? Oh, do you mean? Okay. Oh, I don't know what the question is actually. Do you mean the money you make is sort of an input equals output thing? Oh, I don't know what that's in reference to. I'm so sorry. Thank you for all your help. Have a great night. So glad you're on my Facebook For You page. For You page. You're very welcome. Have a lovely weekend. Not sure how autocorrect changes. Yeah. Oh dear. I love autocorrect. £900. Yeah, looking for a 3-bedroom in Dorset. Yeah. Oh, I hope you find something. I'm a full firm believer. I'm very spiritual. I'm a firm believer in what you say, you manifest, and the law of attraction, The Secret, and things like that. So the fact that you've just posted in this space that you're looking for 3-bedroom, you want to own your own home, I feel like that triggers a chain of events that will potentially make that possible at some point. So good luck with it all. And our dogs, it's made mad. What was that in reference to? Did I miss that? I'm so sorry. What's that in reference to? Well, look who it is. Hello, Ryan. I'm tired actually. I should have logged off about an hour ago, but you know me, I'm always behind with my comments and can't drag myself away. I'm really good, thanks, Ryan. So Ryan's one of my other moderators. How are things with you? How long have you been on? Yeah, I think about 2 hours. I didn't get a notification tonight. No, I know. I should let you guys know when I'm coming on. To be honest, it's a bit of an impromptu thing that I did. But it's really nice to see you. I'm not going to stay on late, even though I keep saying that I'm going to log off. I'm going to log off soon, I promise. Thank you for the follow. Like when you say passive, okay, when you say passive income, is that like where income equals total? Oh, no, yes, a good question. Passive income, so you have active and passive income. So active income is if you go to a job and you have to turn up to your job and you get paid. Or if you are self-employed, if you're like, I don't know, a plumber, you have to go to the job, otherwise you don't get paid. So your income is linked to your time. Your income is linked to your time. So if you don't turn up, if you don't go to your job or you don't turn up for your self-employed job, you don't get paid. Passive income is not linked to your time. So rental properties are typically passive income because although there is some, people always go, there's no such thing as passive income. I would actually entirely agree with that. There is some involvement. You have to still manage, you have your energy with the properties, but it's not linked to your time. So the idea is that our rental comes in every month, regardless of where we could be on the other side of the world, we could be doing something else, and it's passive income. And they talk about being rich mindset, but this is how the rich make all their money, because if your money is linked to your time, then you're restricting your income. Passive income isn't restricted. So in theory, we could get more and more houses and our income is unlimited. Don't want that personally. It's just not for us. We've got enough that we have a nice, lifestyle, and we know all of our tenants, we self-manage. It works really well for us. But the passive side of things is the key as far as I'm concerned, because I had to take some time off because I got really sick in November and I had to literally just drop everything. I end up in hospital. I had COVID and then end up in hospital with pulmonary embolism, and I had to drop everything for 3 months. And if I had only active income, if I was only working with my clients, my income would have stopped. But because we had the buy-to-lets, the passive income, it meant that our income didn't stop. So I'm very grateful for the passive income. So yeah, just hopefully that's a bit clearer. Thank you. Is there a way to keep main residence? What was that? Oh, what's that in reference to? What was it in reference to? I'm really sorry. I don't know what you mean. Power of manifestation is so true. I know. I know. Firm believer. So I meant from TikTok, not from you. Oh, no, I know. Yeah, the notifications. But I should tell you. I should tell you. I've got a few moderators. I should tell you guys what's going on. But thank you. It's nice to see you, though. I'm really well, thanks. I've actually taken steps to get started in property now. So excited. Oh, that's so cool. Very cool. Have to book a course in. Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm doing my buy-to-let course in June, if you fancy a bit of a... Although, to be honest, you've probably heard everything all my lives. That's very cool, though. Congratulations. Oh, hello, Mr. 365.co.uk. How you doing? I wish I was as positive as you. I got a headache too. I'm not sure what to make of that. I'm in a good mood today. I'm not always this positive. I have to say, I do love my lives. I live for my lives. They're very cool. And I should come on more often because I really enjoy them. But that's very cool. Thank you so much. We can't buy what we want. Should we buy and rent out while paying our own rent? It's an option. That's what we do. Because it's easier to buy a rental property than it is your own home. It's crazy. I mean, it's crazy. People get very upset with, like, me personally for being a property investor. And I'm like, be upset with the banks. Like, it's the lending and the way that the whole thing is structured that makes it so difficult. But yes. Oh, sorry, your question. I mean, it's up to you. It's neither, you can either just keep renting and keep saving until you can afford your own place. Or invest your money in a rental property and help with your rents. Absolutely. The thing for me is that, and again, you can use angel investors to buy your own home. This is what we did. So there's lots of options. It's just understanding what they are. If you listen to we do an angel investor podcast, the Property Empress podcast, and work out how to adapt it for yourself. Maybe I should do that. Maybe one of the podcasts should be how I bought my first home, how me and Drew bought our first home together using an angel investor. Because that's one of the things I really want to be sharing the most is like how people who feel that they can't afford to buy their own home actually can. But whenever I share it, it just doesn't do well on the algorithm. And it's that thing of, I guess, people don't want to hear it. But I think it's such an important topic, Benno. But I hope that helps. Thank you so much for answering my question. You're very welcome. Thank you for sharing. It's really interesting what you were sharing. I just signed up for the course. Oh, that's very cool. Thanks, Dan. That's very cool. I'll get in touch about. I need to set up the I mean, I know we've got a bit of time, but we'll get the strategy calls going because with the strategy calls for the course, what I tend to do is we'll have like a normal strategy call, but what I'll do is I'll give you like some like questions and reflections. When we talk, I might have put this on my website, I can't remember, but when we talk, I normally get a feel of like potentially some like belief systems and patterns and stuff. So I'll send people like things to contemplate before the course and then some action points if there's some action points. So it's really cool. It's nice doing the strategy call. So booking in advance means that we can do that. So yeah, I'll be in touch. But that's very cool. Thank you. You're so amazing, inspiring. Oh, thank you so much. We shall add it to the podcast list. Thanks, Richard. People probs don't want to hear about don't want to hear about angel investors because they don't understand. I know. I hear you. It's one of those things that's so powerful, but you don't hear about it. Like it's not in like mainstream media. Thanks for answering yes, please podcast on how you bought your first property. That's really cool. Thank you, Richard. In fact, aren't we recording tomorrow? So yeah, let's certainly put it on the list anyway. It'll be an easy one for me to talk about because obviously, like, I was there. Anyway, I'm gonna go. I'm sorry, I feel like I'm babbling a bit now, but thank you so much. Amazing questions as always, everyone. Oh yeah, cool. Thanks, Ryan. Have a fantastic bank holiday weekend, and I will try and be a bit better. I'll try and post on my bio when I'm next going live because I did that last time but then I changed the time, but I will try and do this next time so you can see when I'm coming live. Is there any news and update on marriage where you buy back lease years? I'm down to 65 years. Ooh, hang on a second. Is there any news on update on marriage where you buy back lease years? Oh, No, I don't know. I think that's a joke. Oh, because marriage, yeah. I've been on for 2 hours. I need to go. My brain is addled. Have a lovely, lovely evening. That's a good way to end. So I'm sure it can supplement those courses. What was that? My brain is gone. Oh, we definitely consider Biclex or spend a bit of money on courses. So I'm sure it can supplement those courses. Cool, cool, cool. Bye. Yes, bye. Thank you so much. Have a lovely weekend. Mwah. I'll see you all very soon. Bye. Oh, how do I go? They go bye.